The ship hummed softly as it glided through the blackness of space. Lights flickered along the walls of the human exploration vessel horizon, casting long shadows across the narrow corridors. Captain Jason moved quickly, his boots clicking against the metal floor. He was used to emergencies, but today was different. Today, the ship had a visitor, an alien girl named Lyra. Lyra's species was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and eyes that glimmered like stars. She had never been on a human ship before. To her, everything looked strange and confusing. The lights, the machines, even the way humans moved. She had been sent to the horizon temporarily because her transport ship had suffered serious damage during a patrol near the outer colonies. Jason had been briefed on her arrival, but nothing could prepare him for meeting her in person. He opened the door to the small room where she would stay, and she was already there, standing stiffly, her hands clasped in front of her. "Welcome aboard," Jason said, trying to sound friendly. "I'm Captain Jason. You'll be staying here for now." Lyra nodded politely. "I understand. Thank you, Captain." Her voice was soft, musical, but carried a strange tone that was hard for Jason to place. He glanced around the room. It was small, barely enough for two people, with a single bed pushed against the wall. A sign on the door caught his eye. "One bed, one rule, don't sleep close, no falling in love." Jason frowned. "One bed? Are you sure this will work?" Lyra tilted her head, her luminous eyes meeting his. "It is a regulation on my planet. I am aware of the rule. I will follow it." Jason shook his head slightly. "Well, we'll do our best." He didn't say it out loud, but he already felt a strange tension in the room. Sharing a bed with someone, even with a rule, was going to be difficult. Lyra sat down carefully at the edge of the bed, straightening her posture. She looked at Jason and asked, "How do humans sleep?" Jason blinked. "Sleep? You mean, like lying down and closing your eyes?" "Yes," she said. "And how do you avoid feelings?" Jason swallowed hard. He hadn't expected that question. He thought for a moment. Honestly, humans can't control feelings that well, but rules help, sometimes. Lyra considered this. "Then we must be careful. One bed, one rule." Jason nodded. "Exactly." The first night was awkward. Jason tried to give Lyra space, moving to the far edge of the bed. Lyra curled herself into a neat little ball on the other side, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Jason glanced at her. "You sleep differently from humans, don't you?" Lyra tilted her head. "My species does not require as much sleep, but I follow the pattern to respect your habits." Jason nodded slowly. He could tell she was serious. She was following the rule. And yet, there was something in her gaze, a curiosity that made him uneasy and intrigued at the same time. A sudden alarm interrupted his thoughts. The ship's gravity stabilizer gave a short tremor. Lyra's body shifted slightly on the bed, and Jason instinctively reached out to steady her. Their hands brushed for a moment, sending an unexpected jolt through both of them. Lyra froze. Her eyes widened. "Rule broken?" she whispered. Jason cleared his throat, trying to mask his embarrassment. "Not really, it's just an accident." She nodded quickly, pulling her hand back. "Accidents are acceptable, but nothing more." The rest of the night passed quietly. Jason lay awake, listening to the alien girl's soft breathing. He couldn't explain why, but her presence made him feel calm. And something else, a strange warmth he had never felt before. He shook his head. "Focus, Jason. One bed, one rule." The next morning, Lyra was up early. She moved with grace and precision, inspecting the room, the bed, and even the small wardrobe. Jason watched her, trying not to stare. She was fascinating, every motion deliberate, every expression careful. Humans were curious, but she was different. "You must eat," Jason said, holding out a tray of human food. "Breakfast." Lyra tilted her head. "Food, I will try." She examined the tray. Bread, scrambled eggs, fruit. She poked at the eggs with a small finger. "Interesting texture," she murmured. Jason laughed softly. "Try it. You might like it." She tasted a small bite, then a piece of fruit. Her eyes sparkled. "Humans taste pleasant." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Pleasant?" She nodded. "Yes, not unpleasant. Comforting." He chuckled. "Well, I'm glad you approve." As the days passed, life on the ship settled into an unusual rhythm. Jason trained the crew, repaired the engines, and supervised missions, while Lyra watched and learned. She was curious about everything: how humans moved, how they ate, how they spoke. Sometimes she tried to mimic their actions, often clumsily. Jason found himself laughing at her mistakes, though he tried to hide it. One evening, while working on some paperwork, Jason noticed Lyra watching him closely. She tilted her head and asked, "Why do humans worry so much?" Jason paused. "Worry? About what?" "About everything," she said. "Your species seems fragile." Jason smiled faintly. "We are, sometimes. But we also care. That's what makes us strong, I guess." Lyra considered this. "Caring can be dangerous." Jason nodded. "Yes, but it's also beautiful." Lyra stared at him, her alien eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "I do not understand humans fully, but you are different." Jason felt his heart skip a beat. "Different?" "Yes," she said simply. "I feel something when I am near you. It is confusing." Jason swallowed hard. He reminded himself, one bed, one rule. But he could feel the tension in the air, something unspoken, growing stronger every day. The next night, a small accident broke the rule. Again. Lyra had rolled over in her sleep, moving closer to Jason. He reached out to keep her from falling off the bed. Their bodies touched, just slightly. She stirred, woke, and looked at him with wide eyes. "Rule nearly broken," she whispered. Jason cleared his throat. "It's okay. Accidents happen." Lyra nodded but didn't move away. There was a moment of silence, a fragile connection hanging between them. Jason realized that rules were meaningless if feelings were stronger than instructions. Days turned into a week. Lyra learned more about humans, their emotions, their courage, and their strange sense of humor. Jason noticed small changes in her behavior. She smiled more, laughed at his jokes, and even tried some human food without prompting. One afternoon, as they walked along the observation deck, Lyra asked, "Why do humans value love?" Jason looked out at the stars. "Love gives life meaning. It makes us brave, makes us care for others. It's why humans fight for each other, even when it's dangerous." Lyra considered this, her eyes reflecting the distant galaxies. "It seems powerful." "It is," Jason said quietly, "and sometimes it is unstoppable." Lyra nodded slowly, understanding dawning in her alien mind. "Perhaps rules are not enough to stop it." Jason felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had sworn to follow the rule, but he realized that rules were never stronger than human or alien emotion. That night, Lyra lay on the bed, closer than before. Jason sat at the edge pretending to read, but he kept stealing glances at her. She looked peaceful, almost fragile, yet her presence was electrifying. The rule was clear: one bed, no falling in love. But as Jason watched her, he knew this rule was already being tested. Their hearts were quietly moving toward each other, and nothing on the ship could stop it. Somewhere deep in the ship, the hum of the engines continued, steady and calm. Outside, The stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the beginnings of something unusual, something impossible to control. And in the small shared quarters of the horizon, a human and an alien girl were about to discover that one bed could not contain curiosity, laughter, or the first sparks of love. The day began with the soft hum of the ship's engines and the pale glow of distant stars through the observation deck. Lyra moved carefully through the corridors, her movements precise, almost like a dancer. Humans moved differently, Jason thought. Slower, more clumsy perhaps, but with warmth. She was still learning, still observing, and every small gesture fascinated her. Jason was already awake, sipping a cup of hot liquid, coffee, as Lyra had learned to call it. The smell had confused her at first, bitter yet oddly comforting. "Humans enjoy this?" she had asked yesterday. Jason had shrugged. "Some do. It keeps us awake, helps us think." Lyra tilted her head. "Curious. My species does not need stimulants." Jason chuckled. "Well, humans like their little comforts." "Comforts," she repeated carefully, testing the word. Today, Jason had a list of duties: checking the ship's engines, reviewing communications, and guiding the crew through training exercises. Lyra, as an alien observer, shadowed him closely, her curiosity endless. She wanted to learn everything: human food, human humor, human emotions. Jason noticed the way she examined each task. Her fingers hovered over controls, not touching, just studying. She asked questions he had never considered asking himself. "Why does this lever control the temperature?" she inquired. "Because," he said slowly, "it connects to the life support system. Too hot or too cold and people could get sick." Lyra's eyes widened. "Your species is fragile." Jason nodded. "Yes, but it also makes us careful. That care keeps us alive." They walked through the ship together, and Jason found himself explaining things he hadn't before. Small details, the lights, the navigation panels, the routines of the crew. Lyra listened attentively, absorbing everything. Sometimes she repeated his words aloud, testing them for meaning. "Careful keeps you alive," she said softly. "Your species is delicate, yet resilient." Jason smiled faintly. "Exactly. That's humans in a nutshell." By afternoon, Lyra was trying human food again. Jason had prepared a small lunch, carefully arranging slices of fruit, bread, and a small portion of cooked meat. She sniffed the meat cautiously. "It smells strong," she said. Jason laughed. "Humans like strong flavors. Try a small bite." She did, carefully. Her eyes widened and a faint smile curved her lips. Strange taste. Yet pleasant. Jason nodded. "Glad you like it. Humans put meaning in food. Sharing it shows trust." Lyra considered this, then nodded. "Trust. Important. I see why humans value it." The afternoons were often filled with cultural collisions. Lyra would watch Jason and the crew practice drills, then mimic them, often with hilarious results. She attempted to lift a heavy crate, her limbs long and graceful, yet she almost toppled over. Jason rushed to steady her. "You must be careful," he warned. She looked at him, embarrassed but unafraid. "I am learning human strength. It is different from mine." Jason smiled. "Different, yes, but humans adapt fast. You'll get used to it." That evening, Lyra asked a question that caught Jason off guard. "Why do humans touch each other when they speak?" Jason raised an eyebrow. "Touch? You mean like shaking hands, patting shoulders, hugs?" "Yes," Lyra said. "It seems unnecessary." Jason thought. "It's not necessary. But humans do it to show respect, comfort, and friendship. Touch, it connects us." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Connects. I see. My species does not rely on touch. Yet, it seems effective. Jason nodded. It is, and sometimes it can mean more than words. Lyra tilted her head, absorbing this. Jason noticed her cheeks faintly glowing, a sign of her alien emotion he was beginning to understand. Their interactions had a rhythm now, a delicate dance of learning, teasing, and unspoken tension. One day, a small accident tested the rule again. Lyra had been curious about Jason's sleeping habits. She wanted to understand why humans slept so differently from her. She asked if she could lie on the bed for a few minutes to observe. Jason hesitated but agreed, thinking she only wanted to watch. Lyra carefully lay down at the far edge, her long form stretching almost impossibly. Jason sat nearby, pretending to read. Their hands brushed slightly as she adjusted herself. Both flinched, but did not pull away. Rule? Delicate, Lyra whispered. Jason cleared his throat. Yes, delicate. They did not speak more, but the tension was thick. Both knew that every day the rule became harder to follow. Their curiosity, combined with proximity, created a new challenge neither had expected. The crew noticed subtle changes, too. Lyra laughed at Jason's jokes, something she had rarely done before. She mimicked human expressions, sometimes exaggerating them in ways that made the crew chuckle. And Jason, he found himself smiling more, even when tired or stressed. One afternoon, while repairing a malfunctioning panel, Lyra asked, "Captain, why do humans take risks for others?" Jason paused, wiping sweat from his brow. Because we care. Humans, we fight for family, friends, even strangers if needed. We risk our lives because we believe it's worth it. Lyra tilted her head. Risk for others. My species values caution above all. We rarely risk for anyone except our leaders. Jason looked at her. And you risked traveling here to stay on a human ship. That's bravery. Lyra's eyes softened. Perhaps humans teach lessons of courage without realizing it. That night, the shared quarters felt different. Lyra was quieter, contemplative. Jason sat at the edge of the bed pretending to review mission logs, but his eyes kept drifting toward her. She was examining a small human book, turning pages slowly. You read, Jason said softly. Lyra nodded. Curious about human stories? They explain your species. Jason smiled. Stories, humans love them. They teach, warn, and entertain. Lyra looked at him with her luminous eyes. Teach, warn, entertain. Humans, complex. Jason nodded. Yes, and sometimes too complicated. They laughed softly together, a quiet bond forming. Both realized that rules were fragile against curiosity and mutual respect. Each day, Lyra learned more about humans, not just their habits, but their spirit. And Jason, he learned more about her, not just her abilities, but her mind, her humor, and the faint warmth she brought into the room. Over the following days, small incidents continued. Lyra would stumble over human words. Jason would patiently correct her. She would try human customs, sometimes failing hilariously, and he would chuckle without judgment. They were growing closer, though neither wanted to admit it aloud. One evening, a minor gravity fluctuation caused Lyra to slip slightly from the bed. Jason caught her instinctively. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the rule seemed meaningless. Lyra's cheeks glowed and Jason's heart raced. Accident, Jason said quickly, pulling back just enough. Yes, accident, Lyra murmured, her voice soft. Both knew, however, that their connection was no longer accidental. Their laughter, their shared curiosity, the gentle touches, it all hinted at something deeper. By the end of the week, the crew was amused. Humans and aliens had seen many strange partnerships, but this one was unique. Lyra's curiosity and Jason's patience created a rare blend of humor, tension, and admiration. Lyra herself admitted quietly, "Humans are more complex than I thought, and your species can be kind, brave, and foolish, all at once." Jason laughed softly. "That's humans, and yes, I'm all of those things." She tilted her head, a faint smile on her lips. "Perhaps I am learning to admire it." Jason's chest tightened. He was supposed to follow the rule. One bed, no falling in love. But every day, every laugh, every shared glance was testing the rule. He knew, deep inside, that the rule could not hold forever. Outside the ship, stars shone brightly, indifferent to the small dramas unfolding within the horizon. But inside, a human and an alien girl were learning from each other, sharing culture, laughter, and small acts of kindness that neither species fully understood. The nights were still awkward, the rule still in place, but the distance between them was shrinking. Every day, every moment brought them closer, not just physically but emotionally, and both sensed that the adventure of understanding each other was only beginning. In the quiet of the shared quarters, Jason glanced at Lyra as she drifted into a light, cautious sleep. Her breathing was soft, rhythmic, almost musical. He thought about her questions, her laughter, the way she watched the stars. One bed, one rule. No falling in love. He shook his head with a small smile. Rules, he whispered to himself, are made to be tested. And somewhere deep in her alien mind, Lyra felt the same truth stirring. Curiosity, warmth, and fascination had taken root. The rule was no longer enough to contain what was growing between them.